It's a station with a massive shaft.
Actually, it's got two
Has
massive
it
shafts,
really?
and it's one of the deepest on the underground.
And it gave its name to the entire line. It is Hampstead.
Do you know, I realised today that this is episode 52 of the Hidden London Hangouts. We've given you one whole year of weekly lockdown joy, finding out what's going on underneath our feet and revealing the secrets of London's underground. It's been so much of a fun journey, and we continue it today with a stonker of a tube station. I don't do this alone. I've got three amazing people from the London Transport Museum to have a laugh with and to guide us through the history. First of all, Chris Nix from the Transport Museum is looking resplendent in a colour coordination with me.
Indeed, except with the addition of a back map on it. And wasn't it lovely to be back in the Northern Heights on a fabulous day and then spend it underground out of the sun? I've also had to really rummage through my mugs to find one that's even vaguely close to the right colour, at least for today.
Gorgeous. Cherry red could have been us after an afternoon in the pub, couldn't it, Siddy?
Oh, God, yeah. Well, I went with the only mug I've got, which has got tiles. But yeah, so Laura and I have also done a bit of a collar coordination, it would seem. But, you know, I think we all just subliminally message each other, I guess, now after all this time.
It really is. The memo just goes around. I'm on the A grade. That's fantastic. And Laura Hilton Brown, one whole year of Hidden London Hangouts, babe.
I know, I was just thinking, epic or what? In fact, I kind of can't quite believe it. Can you guys? It's a bit of a kind of pinch moment, isn't it? But I feel like I'm just going to follow suit with the matchy. In fact, I'm matchy top and that, and with Sid's. So I think we've done pretty well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving it. And it really is. Series 3, episode 23, if you're doing it the other way. But I say episode 52 feels like quite an epic moment for us here. As I say, today is a really cool episode. It's a station that is so high above sea level that the lifts are really fast. We're going to talk you through all of that. It's a station that just looks so pretty as you go through it, and it takes you to a part of London which can't ever not make you smile. Hampstead Heath is beautiful. So let's get underway. Chris, give us a history lesson, really, because this is a slightly complicated history of this line, isn't it, really? And the name of it and when it opened and all that caper. So take it away, Mr. Nix.
Well, Hampstead Station opened on the 22nd of June 1907 as part of what we now know as the Charing Cross branch of the Northern Line. As you say, it sits atop a very tall hill, and the line, of course, is not climbing the hill. It's at the bottom of the hill, and this is why you have these incredibly deep lift shafts down to the platform. 58.5 meters below ground is where the platforms lie. Now, the station was originally intended to open under the name of Heath Street, but it does say Hampstead Tube on the outside of the station from the start. It gave its name effectively to the line of the Charing Cross branch of the Northern Line. It wasn't without controversy, though, because the tube line is travelling underneath Hampstead Heath itself, which had a lot of supporters and protectors. Indeed, one Hammersmith MP, W.J. Bull, questioned in Parliament when it was seeking parliamentary approval for the project. He questioned whether drilling through the ground was in fact going to drain the water from the heath and damage the trees and the wildlife there. They were reassured that that wouldn't happen. Indeed, the heath seems to be fine to this day. So an interesting station because it is the deepest on the tube, also quite a pretty one, designed by architect Leslie Green.
Do you know, if you could see the full screen that I can see, we are like three Dalmatians looking at Chris, our owner, whenever he does these history lessons, like, okay, tell us more. It's all good. It's all good. Brilliant stuff. And just to say, Chris, the line was originally called the Charing Cross, Euston and Hampstead Railway, wasn't it? Even though the station was called Heath Street, which is kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, what's interesting is how quickly that mouthful just got abbreviated down to Hampstead Tube. And you can see there's little bits of resistance to that in official photos where there's boards have been put up with Hampstead Tube on it and sort of then get redacted. The word tube is just sort of clumsily blacked out in the photos. So,
I think
the tube.
I think it's quite interesting. I saw, so you know how, so Chris said the station opened on the 22nd of June, 1907. So it was the last of the sort of 3 lines owned by the Underground Group, owned by Yerkes, your favorite.
Charles Tyson Yerkes.
Yeah. And on the 22nd of June, which, you know, incidentally is next week, guys. And we might be doing something real fun on that day, right?
Yeah.
But on that day in 1907, they allowed passengers to ride on the line free of charge from early morning until 8 p.m. And they had something like 150,000 people, 18,000 people per hour that used the line to get up to Hampstead. Because if you think about it, if you lived in London, going all the way up to Hampstead Heath and to Hampstead actually would have taken quite a long time prior to the tube coming there. So it would have been a very exciting time, I think.
Totally. Coming up in the episode today, you will see an enormous shaft. But before that, we're going to have a look at some exteriors of the station. Christopher, the first picture is of the beautiful Leslie Green architectural joy that is the station itself. And it actually looks very similar to that already. Sorry, it looks very similar to that right now.
Today, I know what you're trying to say. I got you. I was there with you.
You got me, babe.
I was there with you.
It looks lovely, doesn't it?
It does. Doesn't it? The entrances seem to have moved a little bit. No, so you see that one. Is that one still the one in use? But there's not that one in the middle there. That's been boarded up.
I think so. But one thing interestingly, Laura, when you look at the front of that, just to give you an explanation, the 2 arch windows on the left, far left, they're now bricked up with those beautiful cherry red tiles. Okay, because that's now the lift room. We're going to go there in a bit. But also, it always makes me laugh, that kind of peculiar pylon law that sits on the top that says underground. I always think it's a bit like, you know, something out of a children's playground.
Like some kind of park equipment or something. Weirdly, I was thinking something very similar. I didn't really even know what it was. And I actually couldn't make out that it said underground, but thought that it probably said something of that ilk. But it's just so very iconically Leslie Green, isn't it, that station? I mean, of all the things that we've talked about over all of the episodes, it's like tick, 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 but so beautiful, so gutted I couldn't be there. The Hidden London gang are working on something very, very exciting that hopefully will come to fruition over the summer and autumn. And I just couldn't make the schedules kind of meet on this occasion. So missed you guys again. But really lovely photo. But I can't help but look at this photo and think of orange pants.
Well, now this is interesting. We'll come back to that in notes, queries and questions, I think, because we seem to create, Siddy and I appeared to create something of a thirst trap in Hampstead yesterday. Remember the view that you're about to see now. It may well come back to haunt you a bit later in the Hidden London Hangout. But the other thing I was going to say, what I love about these Leslie Green buildings, and Leslie Green was indeed the architect, as you know, from the 51 episodes that come in before this one, that Leslie Green's architecture to me is always heightened when it's on a corner, whether it's like that or whether it's maybe 2 stops down at Chalk Farm, where it's literally like a mini Flatiron building, or at Leicester Square, somewhere like that. It really is, it's such a beautiful design and almost lends itself to tight corners.
I think there's a couple of things about that. It's a really good, prominent place to put the station to serve the area and also be seen, right, kind of in the heart of things. So that big stack sign saying underground on it would have been illuminated to really make it, as Frank Pick would have wanted, a beacon for the system. If you look around at what else is there, there's plenty of branding. It's very clear who the station belongs to. And on the left there, where I've zoomed in, there's a very, very large enamel map that was made out of 6 sections that shows the extent of the tube system on a geographical map. And I'm just slightly curious about what that guy is doing, sort of like bending over as if they're playing hopscotch on the street or something.
I think he's looking at a manhole.
Yes, I think you're right.
That's what I suggest he's probably doing.
But
okay,
given where he is. Lovely lights hanging off the front of this station, a bit different to the ones that we're normally used to seeing on the front of Leslie Green stations. Good.
Manhole, by the way, is the correct way of saying that. Let's go into the booking hall, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Now, and actually, you can kind of recognise that as it is today, really.
Yeah, it's basically the same layout. But what a cracking shot. I quite often with these ticket hall photos, they're not really wide enough to take it all in. But this one, I don't know, see what you guys think, but I think that really captures most of the standard fixtures and fittings that you would find in Isles of Green Station.
Laura?
It's just lovely, isn't it? There's so much in this one picture, but obviously my eyes are drawn towards those lovely lifts, which I know you guys got to hang out in yesterday.
I suppose that'd be in London Hang In, wouldn't it? Really? They are wires. Very nice.
The kind of tulip design that on the glass there, and that it's kind of mirrored in the metalwork above the doors as well. I just think that's utterly beautiful.
If you like that, you're going to love a picture that's coming up in a little bit later.
Awesome.
So we talked about how high above ground this hill is in Hampstead, and how low clearly the platforms are. And Chris, just to give us a bit of an illustration of this, there's an absolutely spectacular shot down the lift shaft, isn't there, while it's in use? I mean, that is such a good video. It's just such a good picture.
I feel it's, even as a photo, it's one we should warn people who are afraid of heights. It's it's rare that a photograph manages to capture a sense of depth like that. But because you're looking at the lift cabin with its ropes all the way down at the bottom through those trusses, I think it really does give you the sense of depth.
When is this from?
This is actually from 1955. This photo. So it's
when they were refurbing the lifts or something.
Yeah, the lifts got refurbed a few times before they're entirely replaced. So I think it was while that was going on.
That's such a spectacular shot. I know it sounds pathetic, but I would happily have that hanging on my wall. It's such a dramatic picture. Something about, I love shafts, lift shafts, love them, absolutely love them. Now, because of, I just enjoy that moment for a couple more seconds because it's just such a great image.
There is actually a worker down on the top of the cabin. I've only just noticed.
They used to do that, didn't they? To inspect the lift shaft. They used to stand the engineers on the roof, and because apparently you can control the lift from up there. Yeah,
it's why lift shafts have always got a bit of extra space above them. In the movies when you see kind of the hero does the climb out through the hatch that doesn't exist into the top of the lift cabin, and then it's going up, and they're going to get crushed at the top of the shaft. Yeah, they're not built like that.
That doco that
the engineers have to do this.
It's beautiful. That doco that I bang on about, 40 Minutes Out of the Angels, the bloke's riding on the roof of the lift on that one. Lovely stuff. Beautiful, beautiful. So looks very nice like that, but we decided that we needed to have a look at the ways down from this station, just so that if you go and have a look around Hampstead Station, you get an idea of what you're going to see. So we decided to take the lift. So this is what, 192 feet, this lift shaft, isn't it?
Yeah, 55 metres in total.
And this door here can align the other lift. Look at that, incredible. So this can align, so in an emergency you can get out of this lift via this door and into the other lift.
That's right.
Yeah?
Fast though, isn't it?
It's very fast. I'm not a massive fan of lifts, but actually I don't mind the ones at Hampstead. They don't scare me too much.
Here we are.
And here are the amazing tiles. Look at this beautiful cherry red.
Now you can tell straight away that you're not going to be finding any maker's tiles here because the original tiles are gone.
Yeah.
That's very much tile your bathroom.
I was going to say less Woolliscroft, more tops. Lovely though. I do love the colour here. It's very similar to the one at Chalk Farm, isn't it? And through there, what would that have been?
Well, it's got plant room in there now, which is what's making that noise.
But there would have been one other lift because you can see the detailing over there.
We can take another lift up, can't we?
We can.
Yeah, it's a really lovely colour. It's reminiscent of Down Street.
One of the other nice little features you tend to find around the lifts here are these tiny little doors. You know what that's for?
Is there like an old gate that comes across?
That's right, it's for the gate, Boswick Gate to isolate the lift.
Cool, lovely.
You want to put it out of service.
Do you want to jump in that lift and go up?
Let's. Okay, now you'll feel it does go with a bit of a boost when it's ready.
It does. It does.
Well, because it's climbing up like, what is it, 50 meters?
It's a long way.
55, yeah.
It's a long, long way. We've done metric and imperial, haven't we? Something for everybody on the Head and London Hangouts. And here it goes. You can
Yeah,
you
it's
really
quite
do feel
fast.
it. Yeah, you really feel it.
It's sort of like, you know, when you're going to a really tall office building or something.
But it's that feeling when it slows down, you go, whooey!
Ooh,
There, that bit.
It's a much smaller lift though than the ones in Covent Garden or, you know, Googe Street even.
I'll tell you, these lifts are a great deal more civilised than the ones before it. You don't get such a great sense of takeoff and landing.
And what I love as well about this station at the moment, because of COVID and the one-way system and everything else, is they're actually making use of the 2 entry-exit points of the station. Yeah. So I've never used this bit of the station before in all the years I've been coming to Hampstead. But it's beautiful. It's all the tiles and also, did you notice the loft hatches as well?
Yeah.
You think, what are they for? Laura, how do you stand on lift usage? Do you get scared in lifts?
I'm not a big fan of lifts, can't lie. Maybe you remember that from Kennington, where Jay took us, and he was the kind of emergency person. So he had to take the stairs and we all took the lift. And I did go in with you and Chris because I thought, okay, I feel safe now because I'm with the boys. But if I was by myself, I would always choose to take the stairs. It's not something that I'm a big fan of, to be fair.
I'll tell you something, you wouldn't want to do that at Hampstead. It's a long way down and definitely a long way up. And interestingly, the lifts themselves, Chris, as you mentioned a few minutes earlier, they've been refurbished over time, but some of them are very, very beautiful and remained stunning until probably the late 70s, early 80s, didn't they?
Yeah, so the lift actually survived in their original form, more or less, until 1980. These are so into the 80s. This is them shown in 1980, still in situ. I just to pick up on what Laura was saying earlier about the beauty of that wrought iron vent work over the top. You can see it much more clearly there.
One thing about this photo, guys, though, do you see that these are lifts number 5 and 6?
Yeah.
That's something that we discovered later on our journey through Hampstead, wasn't it?
Oh, you drop in these teases wherever you go. Amazing. And those lifts, funnily enough, one of them ended up at the Transport Museum, didn't it? London Transport Museum.
It did, yeah. And here we get finally we can see what they look like in colour. So this is that part of the lift cabins from lifts 1 and 2 at Hampstead when they were withdrawn, and this was in the old museum. So they're no longer displayed in total like that. We still have some of the bits in our Digging Deeper gallery.
I reckon that could potentially be one of Laura's favourite colours that lift was painted in, wasn't it?
I was just thinking how incredibly different it looks in colour to the black and white shot. I know it's the same thing, but in color it looks so very different. And I wonder if that kind of I'm not saying it is a tulip, but it just reminds me of a tulip, so I keep kind of referring it to it as that. But that tulip design, I wonder if that kind of, when I think of Hampstead, I think of kind of affluence and the heath, and I wonder if that kind of flowery kind of design is kind of was put there because of the lovely heath and greenery, all of that greenery and park area. Yeah.
I don't know, amazing. But interesting also in that photograph, I guess that one that's at the top of the thing and the two that's at the bottom of the thing, did they go up and down as the lifts went up and down to give an idea of where they were in the shaft?
Yeah. The lift indicators. So it's basically the same as what we have today when the arrow is showing, 1, 2, going up or going down. So it's the indicator of where the location of that is. We have the same in Aldwych. It's still in situ at Aldwych.
Yeah, cool.
Well, they're just connected to the lift winding gear with a gear reduction so that they are actually tracking where the lift is.
Oh, he's so clever. He's so clever, this boy. See, the things you learn, it's amazing. Now, that's obviously one way up and down from the platforms, but the other way is to use the stairs. And the peculiar thing about this is it is an incredibly deep station. And even as you walk down, you'll get wobbly legs because it's so many. But anyway, we decided to do this in the interest of curiosity and service to you.
did we decide that we were going to brave the mighty stairs of Hampstead?
We should.
Yeah, we should, definitely, but definitely downwards, I think.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, it's a running gag, right, that when people start working here for the first time, there's some kind of emergency that the station staff send a new person to experience the first climb, because look at that. That is the equivalent of about, what, 15-storey building, or even more? More than that, I think.
It is. I know Jeff Marshall is often heard to joke about this, that it's always a 15-storey building.
Should we do it?
Let's do it. Let's do it. These border tiles are nice here, aren't they?
They look more
They do look more original, don't they?
Look at this. All right.
In fact, look at these.
So, look, it's done just to help out. Oh, yeah.
I think these are original,
These are
as
original.
well.
Alex, you're missing original tiles.
See, I've already had to climb up. This is not fair.
I think, look at the crazing on these. I'd say those are original.
Lovely.
Yeah, and they look a little bit darker than the ones downstairs, actually, don't they?
But they're inconsistent. You can see the different colours within it. They're so pretty. I've always loved the colours here.
The variation in the glaze is usually an indicator that you've got the original. So, yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah, nice one. Shall we?
Right, let's do it.
They've put up landing numbers very kindly. 1,
2. Tiles.
You can kind of see why, if they look like that down on the platform, why they replaced them, can't you?
We're at 7.
Also, listen to that sound. That's the sound of the air rushing up this huge ventilation duct.
Again, it's something you wouldn't notice unless you were told it was there. There's a big fan and a big pipe right through the centre of the emergency stairs.
Wow, it goes down so far, even we've already gone down 7
Let's have
flights.
a look, peek. Oh wow, yeah, that's that's quite the drop, isn't it?
What's that? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Oh my goodness.
13. Whew, it is a long
You start
way.
to feel it, don't you, on your legs? Blimey. 14th floor. I'm so glad we're going down these stairs, not up.
Yeah. This is deeper than our deep shelter.
Yeah.
Here we are. Oh yeah, and look how it changes, Alex, from this to that.
So this is the difference between the bit that was original and the bit that's been done since, right?
Yeah, so this is...
If you look, there's a bit of variation in the glaze, but not much.
No, it just looks different. I mean, it looks more the sort of tile you'd expect to buy now, you know?
Yeah.
Is that fair? That's just...
And look at that. Hampstead is the deepest station on the underground, and climbing the staircase is equivalent to climbing a 15-storey building.
So there you go, Laura, some tiles for you, my darling. What did you make of the colour?
Loved the colour, and I thought that with my watch, and I know Siddy's got one too, you could clock a few steps there, right, for your daily step monitor. But it makes me think a little bit of Wimbledon and like strawberries and cream, that lovely kind of tile combo. So yeah, gorgeous.
It's such a friendly colour as well. You know, sometimes you go into those stations, especially the ones that are tiled with vivid colours, and you might think to yourself, this is quite the conservative colours, you know, the colours are quite sort of suit and boot, if you like. I always think when you go to Belsize Park and Hampstead, both of which are sort of variations on red, they're such beautifully happy colours to walk into when you get off the train.
What's also nice is because the outside of the station is tiled and they're not the similar colour, it just feels like the whole thing hangs together really, really nicely. And it is just lovely to see some of those original tiles still there serving today.
But it's so beautiful on the Northern Line, particularly, as you say, like Belsize Park, Kentish Town, all of those stations and the platforms really do still look like they would have done when they opened, even though they've been retiled and they've been done up. They still have that sense of like they've done a little bit of a clever job with the lighting, I think, and you know, the tiling is still there, and so it just feels super authentic, and I just really love traveling up there and seeing that.
Totally. It's such a feast on the eyes because, you know, we've said this many times before that, you know, the patterns of the tile work and the colours were done in a way so that if you couldn't read at the turn of the 20th century, you could still find your way around London by the patterns and the colours that you could see on the platforms, which I think is mind-blowingly fabulous anyway. But when you think about that journey down from Hampstead to Belsize Park to Chalk Farm to Camden Town, and then probably what I would say, and it will come up in a coming episode, Mornington Crescent, which is just beautiful. It makes your journey just that little bit better if you look up from the Metro newspaper and you see these beautiful stations arriving one by one. And it is a feast for the eyes, isn't it, Laura?
It is. I think we're very lucky to have all of these kind of hidden design gems, just kind of pockets of loveliness on your journey. I've started to travel back more into London recently for work. And I think you do, from doing these hangouts even, you do start to look differently at these places, and it just puts a bit of a spring in your step. I think I've said that before. Yes. But yeah, sorry.
No, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I hope that that's what we are doing for you, in that we are changing the way you travel around London and you look at things in a different way, because it was certainly something that we really wanted to do from the start of these. Now, when you're at Hampstead, you get down to the platform level, however you get there, and there are a series of passageways, and then there are the platforms themselves. So we went for a bit of an explore.
This is quite cool, guys, because often these are blocked off. They're not grilled in the way that this is.
They are. It's one of the reasons this station is nice and breezy where we are here, because the trains can push the air out through here. But you're right. This is necessary as a bridge because the lifts are over there and this is underneath the street. And so you actually do this at most of the Leslie Green stations, but you don't realise that you're going over a bridge.
So this here, right, this is the original tunnel perimeter, right?
That's right.
And all you do is you cut into it and put a landing on it. Is that right? Is that how it works?
Basically, yeah. So that's the platform tunnel, which is wider than the actual running tunnels. And they just cut through it and continue it on over there.
And the nice thing is you can actually see the next one over there. So that's the out one, to go out of the lift and down to the platform, and we're on the one for coming towards the lift. Well, this is nice, isn't it?
Nice. There you go. One for you, Sids. One for me. This will do. And this was the original name of Hampstead Station.
That's right. It's a bit like when we went to Marylebone, if you remember, the name survived
Grand
there
Central.
as well. Yeah. And this one, it's just simply where the station is. It's on Heath Street, and a lot of the stations were originally intended to be named, or actually named, after where they were.
Yeah.
But weirdly, unlike a lot of stations, these letters have been painted on.
Yep. Yeah, this is similar to Strand, for example. You know, at Aldwych, the disused platform there, that has this as well, this exact colour. So it must have been a kind of uniform thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a beautiful station. The train's about to come in towards Kennington.
Yeah.
And if you want to see this, southbound platform at Hampstead, you can even see the paint runs in the letters.
And also, bonus point, a labyrinth, number 180.
So Sids, I mean, a beautiful little cant around that station, so much to see, just happy moments really, using stations in a way you'd never imagine joy to come to your life.
Absolutely. And do you know what? It was a real joy for me to see the Heath Street, because I honestly didn't know that was there before. So when we kind of came towards it, I was like, oh my gosh, that, you know, it's such a brilliant kind of experience to see that, because it really connects you to what is now and then what was then, and you know how they thought about the whole system. And again, that reference with Strand and Aldwych using the same kind of paint, I thought it was just brilliant. And yeah, you know, having Heath Street, the Tube, the tiles and Labyrinth all in the same location just seemed like almost too good to be true, if anything.
It's great, isn't it? And Chris, you know, the thing I loved about it was, and you saw me do it in the film, that we're so lucky that we can feel history in London. And when you run your hands over those tiles, you feel where the paint begins, and you just gently see, not even a paint run, it's not bad workmanship, it's just where the paint has just been heavy and hangs on the wall a bit heavier. It's so beautiful to see this. I'm not a massive history fan, weirdly. I'm more of a geographer than a historian, but I do love the fact that it's all there for us to see and occasionally touch.
A bit like the Grand Central that we looked at Marylebone. It's great when you've got these beautiful historical survivors that are there in plain sight, and people can just take a train and go and see them for themselves. The other thing, which I don't know if you noticed in the very first photo that we looked at of the outside of the station, not long after it had opened, it did look an awful lot like there was a labyrinth up on the outside wall of it, just to the side of the entrance. Maybe we should zoom in more.
Totally glorious. And of course, you know, we love to give you a little bit extra that, yeah, this is all stuff that you can see, and we love to explain it to you. But then we also love grabbing the bunch of keys and finding stuff that you can't see. We probably wouldn't see unless somebody said, oh, by the way, there's this bit of, are you interested in that? We found something really cool. I hinted at it earlier. Take a look at what we found.
Thank you. See?
Oh, Sidi,
That's
you
what
are
we're
ready.
talking about.
Here we go.
Oh my word.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Okay,
Oh my
hallelujah.
goodness, look at that.
That is so high. Remember when we thought York Road was high?
Yeah.
Nothing compared to this.
Wow, can you sing that?
It's hard to actually show you guys properly.
I really wish I brought the big torch today.
Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing that can cope with that.
That's amazing.
That is incredible.
When did they take this lift out? Do you remember? No. We'll have to find out, guys.
I mean, one thing is that it was redone in '92, the tiling, right? But these are original tiles in here. And look, we've got our old friend, the Keystone.
The Keystoning.
But yeah, nice to see the originals there.
Also breezy in here, is it not? Part of, from the trains. And just saying, you know, for a station this deep, it's actually quite airy and breezy.
We've seen it around here as well. There's a little drop more tiles here, just here. Just love the exploration. We're just saying to a wallet, so much of this stuff. You look at the amazing sort of cornice work up there. So much of the stuff that the public don't see is the really juicy stuff that these hidden London hangouts capture. It's absolutely wonderful.
Laura, you see, I'm so sorry you couldn't be there for this, because we saw those original tiles, not the pastiches, but the absolute originals from 1907. But then we look up that hole and you suddenly see effectively 200 feet of lift shaft right above you, and then that little loft hatch. I mean, it is just the things that hide in plain sight.
I think, quite frankly, that you guys got really greedy, and I'm very, very, very upset with you all. I mean, how awesome, because I've not been to that station. I've not been to a few that we've been to, or you guys have been to physically recently. I don't know North London as well. So this is amazing to see that this is beneath our feet. You could tread those pavements and not know that that was in situ, you know, directly beneath your feet. And that's what I love about these hangouts so much, is that we are all learning so very much as well, because, you know, you alluded to this before, Alex, you're not massively a historian necessarily, and neither am I. You know, Chris and Sidi, they are. This is their bag, this is their skill set. We just look at things slightly differently, and I think that's why hopefully these hangouts kind of come together and work in the way that they do. But I'm not big on the facts and the dates and the kind of history of it all. I'm very big on the senses and how it makes you feel and what I can see, and bringing that to people. And I think you guys, these clips are amazing. So yeah, super greedy, annoyed at you, but well done. Very, very
Thank
cool.
you so much.
We have to say full marks to Explorer City for her spider senses tingling immediately that there was something behind those grills, and was there another lift shaft? So yeah, well done on that, Rick.
Well, I was surprised that you guys didn't think of that as well. You were like, I don't know. I was like, there's a grill door. There's always something behind
It's normally the other way
door.
around. You're normally the skeptical one, where I'm going, is there something behind?
Hold on a minute, you lot taking the credit. I stood there outside that lift and I said, what's behind that grill? And Chris went, you can hear machinery. So it must be machinery. And I thought, all right, well, if you know, I know, I've asked.
I thought City asked first, but I could be wrong.
I was down there like a shot. I tell you, Nosy Parker Grundon, I tell you what, we'll go 50-50, Sid. How about that? But it's really interesting that, you know, throughout all of our careers, doing whatever we're doing, you always want the Rolls Royce of everything. And so imagine when you find in the deepest tube station in London, you find the most empty lift shaft. It is the biggest thing we're ever going to see of that ilk. And we were so glad to find it. So thank you so much to the team for finding it. Now, also on this tour of this station, we again had the bunch of keys and we were taken up to the loft for the lift loft, if you like. Have a look at this.
Where's the machinery?
Oh
right.
my God.
So in this one, you've got to go up 2 lots.
Wow.
This looks like it's been added to the station though.
So this is the loft. We're in the loft of Hampstead Station.
So these are a bit bigger than the ones we saw at Kennington, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
Kennington isn't that deep compared with this, obviously.
And look at the ironwork in this station as well. Now, is this because it's a Leslie Green station? Is this why there's so much ironwork?
Well,
They're loud.
there would have been ironwork originally here, but this is more modern stuff. If you remember when we were talking about the beams last week at Swiss Cottage, these are rolled steel joists. And they can be used as lifting beams. If you look at that one up there, it even says it's a lifting beam. And that is so that you can put roller hoists on them.
To lift the kit up.
Exactly. Yeah. It's for replacing the machinery.
So in this unit here, there is the motor, and I presume there is a rolled wire that holds the lift.
Yeah, you can see the wire just through there.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Just come down there. You might just see it through there.
You'll see it moving in a minute, right?
Yeah, at some point it will
That
move.
could be the backup too, though.
So you've got the motor, you've got the brakes.
There it goes.
Oh, there we go.
You see it moving. I'll give you a bit more light. Does that help at all?
Isn't it weird as well how much space there was up there and how little space these modern lifts require in terms of the space for their kit, Chris?
Well, yeah, and let me show you why there was so much space with the equipment that was there before. So the Otis lifts were rather more beefy, weren't they? We've seen this kind of stuff before. Not least, we have one of these, the one from Mornington Crescent down at our depot at Acton. So you have these huge winding drums. The motors, of course, are bigger because they're less efficient back then. The brake equipment is kind of big. So everything has just got smaller, more compact and more efficient now.
I absolutely love pictures like this. I mean, look at that, Laura. I mean, really, the amount of machinery and workmanship that brings people up 200 feet. It is incredible, isn't it?
It is. It's just an engineering kind of mission, isn't it? It's incredible. And I wonder, like, how many stories the people that worked with that machinery have got to tell about things that happened with the lift and if it did get stuck and things like that. That would be fun to know.
Just love it. Closing
Imagine
thoughts,
hand
Sids, on that
winding
little
one of those lifts.
Oh,
yeah, well, cranking that
fit,
one down.
right?
Yeah. Sids, what do you think then as a trip round a tube station? I think it was your idea to do Hampstead.
Yeah, you know what? The reason I wanted to do Hampstead is because recently when we were filming the TV show, we were at a nearby station called North End, which we might visit at some point.
Please.
Yeah. But, you know, just being around there, I mean, I'm always sort of fascinated by Hampstead just because of the sheer amount of famous people that live there, or, you know, famous people that have lived there, and that kind of sense of this sort of almost small rural village in the middle of London. And then, you know, of course, being the deepest station on the network now, I just thought we need to go and have a look at it. And it did not disappoint. I really loved going through there yesterday with you guys.
Chris, what do you reckon?
What I like about this is it kind of hooks into 2 recent hangouts that we've done. So it's really just up the hill from Swiss Cottage, which we did last week, but also we've got some other things to share. And when we did Notting Hill Gate, we were talking about the film Notting Hill, and there's a place not very far away from Hampstead which features in that we'll see in a moment.
There's a nice little tease there. Before we finish with Hampstead, the thing I really love is where these three do their sort of very pointy-headed art interpretations of posters. And Hampstead is quite a rich vein of artwork. And we found a couple for you. We found 4, I reckon, didn't we? 4 little gems from the poster collection, Chris.
Yeah, because I mean, Hampstead, because it's this kind of relatively rural bit, so close to London by tube, quickly became a very, very popular destination by tube. And so there are oodles of posters to choose from, all extolling the virtues of making the trip there and enjoying bucolic scenes like these from Walter Stradbury in 1912.
Oh, Laura,
Claim your place in the sun.
That's the best bit, isn't it? And so apt at the moment as well, while we're hit with this beautiful sunny weather. You know, here you've got the shade as well as the sun, but what I love is that the poster kind of draws out, you know, get here quickly, claim that place in the sun. And I know, as Chris said, then there are oodles, great words, so many posters about Hampstead, which are essentially a set of kind of travel posters promoting this green, amazing green space. Do you know what's terrible, guys? I've never been to Hampstead Heath. It's outrageous.
Really?
What?
I know.
Wow.
I have.
Sorry. I've said it out loud. It's out there.
You know what, Laura, I hadn't been to Hampstead Heath for the first 7 years I lived in London, but I have been there now.
Yeah.
I spent my
You
formative years
find
on
yourself
Hampstead
a
Heath.
bench there immediately.
Yeah. Do you know, I mean, seriously, I spent my formative years on Hampstead Heath, and I can honestly say there is a really lovely place, don't laugh, Viaduct Pond is a really lovely part of Hampstead Heath to go and find. Find it on your Google Maps when you're there, and just walk up to it. It's not far from Hampstead Tube Station, actually.
Is that the one with the bathing allowed, Alex?
I was going to say,
Is
do you
that
swim
open air
there?
bathing?
Oh, I've been to the bathing pool, absolutely. On
Is
a
it,
hot
is
summer's
it
day.
trunks on or off there? I can't remember.
Trunks
Oh,
on, Christopher.
Okay.
Trunks
I don't know.
on.
There are some
Public
naturist
place, for
bathing.
goodness
No,
sake.
children
I
around.
want to be, you know, playing with a string of pearls. I don't want to be looking at anything else. You know, keep your trunks on, kids.
No, I
make
thought
sure
it
stays-
was wild bathing in the fullest sense. That was all. I couldn't remember.
No,
Don't
but there's a
think you
male
can do
pool.
that in Hampstead Heath.
Well, I mean, you could, but I think it's there has always been a male pond and a female pond,
Yes,
And-
I knew that.
and there's this amazing when you go to the male pond. I mean, obviously, I've never been to the female pond. Why would I? But there's a pontoon in the middle of it. You walk through, and then you go on the pontoon, and then you just
Jump
wash
off it.
yourself in. It's lovely. It's
Elegantly
I'd
done.
love to do that right now. It's so sticky
so
in
nice.
here.
And then there's
Yeah,
that bit, outside when you go out of the ponds, there's the big greenery round it. And there's just all these people just laying there drying off.
Well,
Yeah, I'll just
Right.
you've sold
Should we
it
move
to me
on?
now.
yeah, it's absolutely next poster.
Next poster.
Time for the weather. So the underground group was very keen to promote just how easy it was to use the Hampstead Railway and how quickly and how frequently the trains ran. So here you go.
Oh, wow. Wait, they have non-stop services?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and what's also interesting from this, to me at least, is Hampstead and Golders Green are both being marketed as the stations for the Heath because, of course, they serve the two sides of it. So depending on which side you're going to, choose your station accordingly. But one thing here which it does show is that suggestion of the piston effect of the train whisking the air behind it and whooshing all of that gentleman's paraphernalia away from him.
But that would mean that it literally is not stopping, because why otherwise would these people be standing on the platform and everything is blown away? So it can't be the overrun thing. It
Well, I
must
don't
be
know.
literally
When
they
the train
don't stop.
leaves, I mean, you could. The impression could be given that you were being sucked off the platform at the end, couldn't it? When the train leaves at speed.
No, that's not. Alex, I'm saying that they're literally doing the express railway thing. So literally, you know what I'm saying.
Non-stopping. Yeah.
Non-stopping, yeah.
Would imply not stopping rather than not getting on or off. That's a good bit of marketing there, guys. Well done.
If
Well
you look
done.
at it, it's only at specific times of the day that
Yeah.
it's doing it. And
Yeah.
that's what the poster's telling you.
Oh man, what's the next one? Have we got more confusion on the Heath?
Well, I thought this was rather nice. It's a good contrast. This is a female artist, Hilda Callum, and it's 1913. This one, so still quite an early one, but almost like a seaside postcard, isn't it?
A donkey ride
gaily try on that, Heath. What else could we gaily try? A picnic or
kite flying?
I don't know, Alex.
Cycling?
We could gaily try some cycling, yeah.
Yeah, we could do it.
But they look like they're having a great time, don't they?
They
So
do,
it's
don't
still
they?
in the dream.
She's looking on with wonder, isn't she?
You know what? This reminds me of when I was in Greece last year. You could pay to get on a donkey up to one of these monuments, and I was just like, I'm absolutely not getting on a donkey. I'm going to walk up there. How much did it cost you to
straddle one up to the monument?
I thought you were going to say you were absolutely tempted to do it.
Absolutely not. No. I was just like, I'm not getting on it was already like 35 degrees out, and I was just like, just being stuck on the back of a donkey sounds terrible to me.
And also the poor donkeys, they have a very tough life.
It reminds me of the London Zoo again, the smell of animals in the heat.
But you're right, it's so synonymous with kind of like a British beach activity, isn't it? You know, in our youth, have many a donkey ride. Anyway, we've moved on, sorry.
Yeah.
Let's just obsess about getting on a donkey, shall we?
There's our Notting Hill link, and there's a pond for you, Alex.
That's lovely. Oh, it's a nice cooling pond. I wonder if that's it's Kenwood, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Kenwood House. Yeah, Kenwood House is in Hampstead, and it was occupied by the Guinnesses in the 20th century.
You can buy food mixers there, can't you?
Yep. Yeah. And blenders, in fact.
Always wanted to meet. They do lovely scones there. I've always wanted to meet the Kenwood chef. Lovely stuff.
So Alex, this is remind me of the blue and the green that was in the tile work above the lift.
Yes.
It's another Walter Spradbury posted this from 1925, and interesting that the interlaced Johnston W is being used.
Oh yes. Quite right, Christopher. Well done. Well spotted.
But I love an interlaced W law. Beautiful stuff. And there we are. That concludes our little canter around the artwork of Hampstead as well. I mean, to be perfectly frank, if that's not enough of an advert to go and see the place, we are still in this kind of weird semi-lockdown situation, but they haven't stopped us traveling around London yet. So you can go up there, and it really is the most amazing place. I did spend my childhood years spending too much time, having the best time on Hampstead Heath with the family, and it was just so nice. And I still love going up there for a wander now. In fact, when we were going over there, I did almost toy with getting the bus to Parliament Hill Fields and walking right the way over there to meet Chris and City yesterday, but alas, I was too bone idle. Thank you very much indeed, team. Wonderful as always. We've got notes, queries and questions. Your chance to have your questions answered, the ones that come in. Amazing feedback on last week's episode. It was the viewership. The numbers are incredible for this. We can't believe the weather is so good in Britain, and you guys are still watching these things in the droves. It's incredible. We're so delighted, and the museum is too. Question from Graham Robbins, Chris. I think I've got the answer, but I really appreciate you ratifying this. Another superb episode, guys. Can I ask a quick question? I was in the museum last week and I used the cafe. The place has been wonderfully decorated, but I was left wondering what the maquette is on the seats in the Transport Museum Cafe. It's a Wallace Sewell, isn't it?
It is, in fact, called Cafe. It's one that was commissioned specially for the museum. So it's similar to, that pattern that you're used to seeing in Misha Black, or indeed the one that was commissioned for our lecture theatre downstairs, known as Strawberry Crush. It's kind of a bar pattern, and it's unique to us. We do actually sell some of that in the shop as well. So if you like it that much, I think you can still get things made in it.
Grab it, do it. Start yourself a little moquette project. Doesn't matter what you do, give it a go. It's such amazing fabric, and it's so reminiscent of train and bus journeys for so many people. So give it a go, and it is available by the meter in the shop. Lynx Fan 2 says, thanks for answering my 2 questions regarding the barman seat moquette. Do you remember this question? He's got a load more. I have a few other questions to ask you guys. Does anyone know if any of the floodgates installed at some of the stations actually saw service during World War II? In other words, did they stop a flood? Did they? I don't think they did they? They were serviced, so they
were operated. But,
they were operated, but no, they were not pushed into service, so to speak. They were not required, if that was the ultimate goal. So they were put in place rapidly and installed, and they of course were being monitored and operated from Leicester Square, but they were not required in the
This
end.
gate is not in service due to a lack of flood.
Yeah.
It was a very real risk, though, that they were going against. So they weren't, they weren't a pointless exercise. It was a very good idea to fit them.
We go to a whole new level here. This is very much an anybody. Has the Central Line tube trains received new motors?
What, recently?
Yeah.
I was on that on Friday and on.
Has it changed its
Saturday?
sound?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know.
I was just thinking exactly that, Alex. If they change the sound, but actually, it's not necessarily the motor that's making the sound that you hear. There's lots of other bits that can be responsible for the overall sound. I know that they had some issues with the bogies a few years back, and they did some work on those, but I'm not sure about the motors.
Well, it is hay fever season, isn't it? It's going to come to us all, I suppose. But thank you very much. And the final question is, please, can you cover King's Cross St Pancras? Because I'm so curious to see what's still down there. We can do this, can't we, Sids?
We can, yeah. We've been talking about doing this for a while. It's a really great station that has
We went and recce'd it ages ago, didn't we?
Sorry?
I was just saying, we went and recce'd it ages ago for a potential
we
tour.
did. I mean, it's absolutely massive, and it does have some really juicy bits of disused space, as well as some brilliantly designed and built space. Now that it's all been modernised and it's all been kind of spruced up to its current glory. So there's a lot going on there, and actually to pair it with St Pancras would be nice, because of course that's one of the most beautifully preserved Victorian railway stations in London, so it might be fun to kind of do that. I mean, I would personally prefer if we did King's Cross, St Pancras, and then got on the Eurostar and went to Paris, but that's just me. Yeah.
That sounds lovely. I went there for my 21st to Paris. And when we got there, the hotel was really rough, and with the bed was missing a leg. So there were only 3 legs on the bed.
Oh, well.
I'll give you that for free.
Is that what you told them after you'd used the room, Alex?
It was not here.
It was not. I have not stolen the bed leg. It was not here in the first place. Let's face it, these Hidden London Hangouts highlight usually my stupidity. And Engineer Jim is happy to point this out. Yet another great hangout. See, I love, compliment sandwich, loving this. Great to see the old Met station at Swiss Cottage. It's good that so much remains. I did cringe though, says Jim, when an RSJ was referred to as a reinforced steel joist. My fault, I'm so sorry. An RSG is a rolled steel joist, as they are made by hot rolling billets of steel. Sounds good, sounds like a band.
In fairness, Alex, I did point that out immediately as we'd done it, and I did put a graphic up to put that on the show. I mean, come on.
I don't mind. The beams next to the riveted plate girder are actually called universal beams, as RSJs are different profile and only smaller sizes. I know this is subservice on the Met, but was some of the single board original single track cut and cover or mined? They look quite narrow. Was it cut and cover, Chris, or was it mined?
On the Met, it was cut and cover, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, Stanmore sign, through trains to West End to Rocky Horror Central. Do you remember that poster, Laura, that was a little bit kind of weird? Dazzling Daz says he quite liked the way we took it to bits.
We did.
Did tend to go for it, didn't we? Lovely stuff. Also, what else we got? I've been watching these videos from Series 1, Episode 1 to date. They're getting better all the time, says Mapala78. That to explore with you live stations that really have a hidden past is so interesting. Regarding escalators, you were chatting about the other day. I was in Moscow with my wife in the mid-80s and was taken on the metro system. The stations are very deep, so their escalators were very long. You could not see the bottom. Also, you had to be pretty nifty as the speed was quite fast. I have to say, I've been to Moscow a couple of times to cover the Eurovision Song Contest. God, the reasons I used to go places. And that Moscow metro is so deep underground, and yet you can still get a phone signal down there. It's incredible, Chris.
That is great. It's taken us a while to catch up with getting the mobile phone signal, isn't it?
It was wonderful, 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 wonderful. Who paints over the tiles? This is really interesting, says Janet. I really can't comprehend why the decision was made. For the effort and cost involved for no advantage, must have been a YTS they wanted to keep occupied. It's often these tiles are covered up though, City, aren't they? To obliterate a view, to stop people being distracted as you walk past. In other words, to make grilled doors less interesting to the public and stop them loitering.
Yep. I mean, that's the case in certainly many places. So, for example, you know, when we went around Piccadilly Circus, they painted the tiles there all black so people wouldn't notice them as much. In some cases, though, it's not really quite primarily obvious why they paint over them. I guess it's just, to attract less attention, because you don't want people to kind of be spotting things and wondering about it and trying to get in, I suppose.
One final comment from Daniel Scott. Hello, Daniel. He noted that we were wearing shorts last week for the recording, and you will have noticed today that Sid was looking resplendent in her Daisy Duke jeans shorts. There's a little date reference from the 1980s for Dukes of Hazzard. Daniel Scott says, lallies, no bulging thews though. See, Mr. Nix, this is a little bit of Polare coming in here.
It is. I'm familiar with basic Polari from round the horn, but I'm not familiar with all. I know lallies, but I don't know the other one. So I'm going to stay away from a term that I don't know there, Alex.
Wait, what is this? Sorry, I don't have a clue about what you're talking about.
Polare was the sort of secret language that gay men used to use to communicate with each other so that they weren't outed as being gay in public when homosexuality was illegal.
Okay.
Lallies and thews are words, why would I know? But they are apparently words in Polare to allow you to talk to each other without being outed.
If I could give an example, City, some of it is just straightforward back slang. So if I were to say to you and Laura, you've got a lovely Raya, what does that mean?
Not Ria, Raya.
Hair, yeah, it's back slang. So you just reverse the word. So there you are. You have a lovely Raya. I do not.
Right, okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
There you go.
So Laura, one final question, Sid. There was an Instagram post, wasn't there, on Monday?
Yeah.
With that.
Oh yes, when it was so warm outside, you just needed to post a little thirst trap of you.
Should we remind them of what we posted?
Make him. So we were all wearing our summer's finest. You were wearing all kind of dark blue, sort of almost black looking, which I thought was interesting given it was 28 degrees.
Did we show them the video? What do you reckon?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
okay, so what? You rat bag. Chris is going, no. So what we'll do is this. Do you remember at the beginning?
Family show, Alex.
There was
True.
So there's a fantastic moment. Earlier on, we saw the full facade of the Leslie Green station, and we were doing our introduction, recording our introduction outside there. And Sidney and I, we're naughty. We're just naughty. I'm sorry, we're naughty. And when I was getting dressed earlier in the day, I suddenly realised a colour coordination that not even Sidney would have spotted. Why would she? So I showed her. You thought the colour coordination was just here and here, didn't you? Babe, they know nothing.
Central line sheet.
Absolutely. What did you think then, Sid?
Well, I thought in the quick flash of brilliance that I saw there, I thought it was red, but it was in fact an orange one, as you told me later. So you're always on brand, babe, and I do love your commitment to the cause.
You're amazing, amazing. Christopher
Alex,
and Laura.
It was so bright a flash that I thought briefly for the moment it was the sun, and then I realised it was dangerously close to being the moon.
Marvellous stuff. I'm so sorry, Laura. You see, stuff goes on when you're not there. We really need you there to keep control.
To be honest, I was just thinking if I was there, I'm not sure the pants would have been on show. Just saying. Mine, yours. Not mine.
Oh, great. I love days like this. Right. Thank you very much, Laura. You're gorgeous.
Thanks, guys. That was really awesome. Sorry that I couldn't make it again. Terrible timing with work, but really cool.
So glad you could join us for this bit. Sidney, thank you so much, sis. You are just the best.
Thank you. What a fun trip we've had. And next week is going to be even better. I cannot wait.
Amazing. And Chris, you will vouch that I did drink fizzy water in the Swiss Cottage pub afterwards, didn't I?
Yes, and also what I really loved was when we went for a drink afterwards, even in the pub, you could see that we managed to find a London Transport poster. So we were totally on brand.
Yes,
You know,
in the Hollybush pub, which apparently until very recently was lit by gas.
Is that right? Amazing.
Not
Beautiful
while
pub.
we were there.
Yeah, beautiful pub. It's a really good point, actually. Follow us on Instagram because we put loads of stuff up there through the week. And if you are eagle-eyed, you'll know exactly where we're going the next week because we post about it. We are that leaky as taps. So Instagram, Alex Grundon, Chris Nix, City Holloway, Hidden London Law, and at LT Museum. Also on YouTube, you found us. Thank you so much. Keep those numbers rising. But down below, like, subscribe, and comment to get your questions answered on the next episode. Again, somewhere spectacular next week. In the meantime, have yourself a great day and stay safe.